Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com as always, and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRift_NoDQ. We are coming off night 2 of the 2017 WWE Superstar Shakeup. Got your questions from twitter.com/AaronRift using the hashtag RoadToNoDQ1000. Let's get started today with the first one, which comes from Walter. First time asker. After the Super Shakeup, which brand do you feel has the stronger roster now? Were there any mistakes? I would say it's very close. I think it was overall a fair trade with the rosters. Now, I will give the slight edge to Smackdown because of the fact that AJ Styles did not move to Raw, as was very heavily rumored. I think if AJ went to Raw, Raw definitely would have gotten the better deal. But I would say overall, it was pretty equal, with SmackDown maybe coming out a little bit more on top. At least for the hardcore fans. I think WWE's idea was to make Raw stronger with Dean Ambrose. He's one of WWE's top draws. He was one of the most popular stars and still is one of the most popular stars in WWE. So to bring him to Raw is designed to help boost Raw. I do think it sucks that Dean Ambrose and Renee Young are now on separate brands, and by the way, they are married. That is something that just recently came out. I think that that's unfortunate that they were on separate brands, but I understand from a business perspective Ambrose going to Raw. Bray Wyatt's a little strange, but it does add intrigue to the payback match coming up, and maybe Bray will do better on Raw, who knows. Kevin Owens going to SmackDown. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Sami Zayn being on SmackDown. I think that that was one of the moves that was expected. I think Zayn will excel more on SmackDown. They had an awesome main event match, that triple threat, by the way. AJ versus Sami Zayn versus Baron Corbin, fantastic. So for Sami Zayn to be able to work with AJ Styles, that's going to do nothing but help Zayn. And maybe one day we'll see a Sami Zayn versus Nakamura rematch on the main roster. That could be really awesome. Overall, I'm happy with the results. I think it did shake things up a bit. I'm a little disappointed with the tag team divisions. I think that Enzo and Cass should have gone to SmackDown, and maybe even Anderson and Gallows. I think it went a little bit flat when it came to the tag team divisions and moving those guys around. You know, Shining Stars going to SmackDown, not really a big fan of that. I think Shining Stars are just there to be enhancement talent. I doubt they're going to get any kind of real push out of this. I mean, maybe they will, but I just don't sense it with those guys. I do not think that even with a push, those guys are going to catch on, and I think they will quickly fizzle out. With the women's division, definitely think that that was done correctly, with Charlotte going to SmackDown and Alexa going to Raw, and a few other changes here and there. I think Sasha staying on Raw was the right thing. That was something that was rumored as well, that she was going to go to SmackDown, and she even teased it on Instagram. But I think that to bring her out there, yes, it would have gotten a big pop in Boston, but would have made no sense. Sasha and Bayley is something that's been brewing for several months, and that would have been a mistake if Sasha had gone to SmackDown. So again, overall, I'm happy with the results. This one comes from Ben W. Murray. With the US title being on SmackDown and all the talent being on that roster, will this help elevate the US title to new heights? I think it's good for both titles. I definitely feel it is a proper shakeup. With the US title being on SmackDown, you have a lot of possibilities. It looks like we're going to see Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles for the US title. Should be a hot feud. And on Raw, you have Dean Ambrose as the IC champion. And the thing about the IC title is, with Brock Lesnar being a part-time superstar and the Universal title only appearing every now and then, that is by default going to elevate the IC title. So I do like the idea of switching the IC and US titles to different brands. I thought that that was a good thing to do to shake things up. And I think both titles will get elevated as a result of this. Got this one here from Demo Gorgon. First time asker. Got two first time askers today. How much potential do you feel WWE have missed out on having signed the likes of AJ, Nakamura, etc. into their late 30s? You can add Samoa Joe to that list as well. On one hand, it sucks that these guys were not brought in sooner, but on the other hand, sometimes timing is everything. With AJ Styles, the timing wasn't right for him to come in back in 2002, and I think if he had shown up on the WWE shows on Raw and Smackdown back in 2002, I think he would have gotten lost in the shuffle. Maybe they would have put him in the Cruiserweight division and he would have been there for a couple of years and he would have fizzled out. I think that it was smart for AJ to go to TNA and establish his name there and then go to Japan. And the guy made over $2 million in 2016. It certainly seems like AJ Styles made the right moves from a timing perspective. And same thing with Samoa Joe. He is now in WWE and he's on the main roster. He's a top star. Same thing with Nakamura. These guys, they were patient. They did not rush into something. They waited until the circumstances were right and the stars were aligned. And it was a gamble that paid off. It was several gambles that paid off for all those guys. I think that timing is very important. And unfortunately, it is a risk. Sometimes you wait and the opportunities don't come along. I look at somebody like Christopher Daniels. I think that it's definitely too late for him now at his age, but you know, maybe he could have succeeded in WWE, maybe he wouldn't have. The timing just did not work out for him, and I think Daniels is as talented as any of the guys that I've mentioned, but he just did not get the opportunity at the right time. The timing did not work out for him. Got this one here from Chris. How would you book Kurt Angle as the GM of Raw? Would you have him as a heel or a face? Definitely as a babyface. Kurt Angle is a legend, and it's going to be really hard to make him a heel. I suppose one day it could be done, but I think looking forward in the immediate future, Kurt Angle is best off being a babyface character, and you can do a lot of comedy with him. It's just going to be very hard to get anybody to boo the guy. I do not think it would work. It would take really solid writing for a Kurt Angle heel turn to work, in my opinion. And this leads me to the next question, which is also about Kurt Angle. How would you book an in-ring comeback for Kurt Angle? A similar story to what Shane had with AJ Styles? I think that would be a great approach, to have Kurt Angle have a falling out with one of the Raw talents, which sets up a match. Now, the obvious match to me is Kurt Angle versus Seth Rollins. That is a match we've never seen before. And on Raw, we saw Kurt Angle come out and come to Rollins' defense, saying that as long as he's the general manager, there will always be a spot for Seth Rollins on Raw. So this idea has been established that Angle and Rollins are allies and everything's going to be just fine as long as Kurt Angle's the GM, which of course can set up for the eventual falling out between them. Now, going back to that previous question, I do not think Angle making a comeback as a heel would work. If Kurt Angle was to get in the ring again, he would be the obvious babyface. He would be the guy that people are sympathetic towards. I think that a Seth Rollins heel turn, though, would work very nicely. I think Rollins turning heel on Kurt Angle to set up Kurt Angle coming out of retirement, I think that would be a great way to bring back Kurt Angle and get him back in the ring again. That's how I would do it. Kurt Angle coming out of retirement, the younger guy Seth Rollins disrespecting Angle, and that sets up the match for Kurt Angle to make his comeback. That's how I would book it. Got this one here from John. With James Laurinaitis retiring from the NFL, do you think he follows his dad and gives WWE a shot, or too little too late? I think that if he wants to come into WWE, he will be in WWE. He has the obvious star power of being in the NFL. He has the second generation thing going for him. The fact that his father is one of the all-time WWE greats, that will get his foot in the door. If it's something that he wants to do, he will be in WWE, and I think WWE will make a push for him. If he shows any interest in wanting to get into wrestling, I think WWE will jump at the opportunity to have a bona fide NFL star working in WWE, somebody who has the background being a second-generation star. You know, he's got all the tools. If that's something that he wants to pursue, WWE is definitely going to take advantage of that and give him every opportunity to succeed. Would not surprise me at all if we see James Laurinaitis in a WWE ring at some point. This one comes from Liam. Do you think that WWE is using Roman Reigns to make wrestlers popular because the fans would cheer whoever Reigns is against? I do not think that that was something that WWE was intending, but now that it's becoming a pattern, I could see WWE continuing to do this, where they can book these storylines where they can make superstars out of these other talents by having them do something to Roman Reigns. In the case of Braun Strowman, Strowman is really over now because he destroyed Roman Reigns. He is over with the male fan base. I think that the angle was really well done, whether it was Roman Reigns or John Cena or even a guy that the male fans love, somebody like a Finn Balor. I think the angle was really effective in general in getting over Strowman as a monster. You know, Undertaker and Kane, they did these storylines where they were dominant monsters and they got over as a result. And WWE, if anything, is just doing what was done in the past with these previous monsters, having Strowman do something that is superhuman by tipping over the ambulance and showing off his strength. It's making Strowman a legitimate monster. It's giving him some real credibility as a monster. I thought in general the angle was really well done, and the fact that fans dislike Reigns helps Strowman even further. But the question is, how do they follow this up now? I've heard talk about WWE possibly doing an ambulance match at the Payback pay-per-view, which makes sense. If Strowman is going over and Strowman's being built up for Brock Lesnar and Reigns needs to lose a match, rather than have Reigns lose by pinfall or submission, he loses in an ambulance match where he's not pinned or made to submit. To me, that makes a lot of sense if Reigns is losing at Payback to do an ambulance match. So we'll see what WWE ends up doing. Got this one here from Paul. What are the chances of Mauro Ranallo going to Impact? He is what they need. I agree. While I feel he would not fix TNA's problems, I think he would definitely help matters. The fact is, TNA needs a major makeover, and I think part of that makeover is changing the commentary team. Josh Matthews has been terrible. Jeremy Borash, he seems like a nice guy, but I do not feel he's that good as a commentator. What TNA needs is somebody to sell the product and give the product some credibility. I think Mauro Ranallo is that guy. I think he would be great for TNA. If it was my company, if I was running TNA, I would get that checkbook out and I would do everything possible to sign him. I believe WWE stated his contract expires in August. I would do everything in my power to get him to join the company. To me, he would be a major asset for TNA. One of the best possible signings you could make would be to bring in Mauro Ranallo. I would definitely do it if I was Jeff Jarrett and Anthem and the Owl. I would get that checkbook out, and if I was going to spend money on anything, I would spend money on bringing him in. Got this one here from Reaper. What did you think of the Ministry of Darkness, and what was your favorite version of The Undertaker? I enjoyed the Ministry of Darkness. I felt that it was a nice evolution in Undertaker's character. He adapted to the Attitude Era. It was a darker version of what we had seen in the past in WWE. Undertaker changed with the times, and that's why he was able to succeed for so long, because that character always evolved and changed. And then eventually, once he was getting older, he went back to doing the classic character, and it worked. It worked very well for him. My favorite incarnation of The Undertaker, I think, would be what he's done in recent years, from WrestleMania 20 on. when The Undertaker was, once again, the classic Undertaker. That is the Undertaker people will remember the most. But for the time, during the Attitude Era, I think the Ministry Undertaker worked very well. This one comes from The Dark One. Why did Jimmy Snuka go into the Hall of Fame when he had the court battles, but Chyna, when she was alive, never did because she was in porn? It's all about timing. Going back to earlier, timing is everything, not just in WWE, but in life in general. With Jimmy Snuka going into the Hall of Fame, back then, the case had gone cold. The murder case was not something that was publicized, and WWE felt that it would not generate any kind of negative publicity to induct him into the Hall of Fame. With Chyna, WWE was in a different position. It was a different era, and WWE right now is very self-conscious about negative publicity and generating headlines that would not make the company look good. WWE is very PR. They're very careful about what they do. Every decision they make, they're looking for good publicity. And right now, inducting Chyna, well, right now, I think people would be happy with it. I do not think it would generate negative publicity, but a few years ago, WWE felt like it was not a good idea. And I think it sucks. I think Chyna should have gone in when she was alive. But unfortunately, that's how life goes. And WWE just felt that it wasn't a good idea from a public relations standpoint, so they didn't do it. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it on Facebook and Twitter. Tell a friend about No DQ&A video, and I will see you guys next time.